When the Korvath took me from my ship, I still believed it was a tactical mistake, a misread in space, something I would solve with a countermaneuver, a report, and a few more scars. It took me time to understand there was no mistake. I was not a military target. I was raw material. The transport to the lightless planet lasted too long to be measured by any human notion of hours. Outside, no visor showed stars, only a compressed blackness, as if space itself had decided to stop existing around that route. The first sign that something was deeply wrong came when I realized I no longer felt the effect of the jumps. It was as if I were being carried inside a void that obeyed different laws. When the doors finally opened, there was no flash, no sirens, no screams. There was only darkness. A dense darkness cut by pale violet lines marking trails on the metallic floor. I stepped down, escorted by creatures I could only see as elongated silhouettes. The Korvath. I knew little about them before being captured. Space miners, ancient civilization, crystal-based technology. Nothing in our archives ever mentioned they used humans as slaves. I went down a ramp and felt gravity pulled differently, heavier, as if the entire planet were a contracted muscle. The air smelled metallic and damp, a mixture of rust and living stone. Each step echoed in invisible galleries. Soon, my eyes adapted enough to see what mattered. Chains, platforms, carts, tunnels splitting in every direction. And people, humans. Thin, exhausted, uniforms torn, marked by old repetitive effort. Some looked at me for just a second before returning to work, as if the world had taught them hope was too expensive. That was how I understood where I was. A mine prison, a place where the only sentence was digging until the body broke. The crystals we extracted were not simple minerals, they vibrated. When the tool hit a purer vein, a chill crawled through my bones. The energy emanating from them felt ancient, trapped for millennia, and any wrong touch could unleash something greater. The Korvath knew exactly what they were doing. They organized work fronts with millimetric precision, alternating groups, controlling temperature, gravity, production rhythm. They didn't shout orders. They didn't need to. Their surveillance was a constant presence inside the mind. It took me days to notice what was wrong with those guards. They almost never moved. They remained on high platforms, motionless, bodies wrapped in organic armor. And even then, if someone hesitated, stumbled, or lost focus for too long, a wave of pain struck them exactly in the moment the thought of stopping appeared. No cameras, no visible sensors. Something more. On the third night cycle, if it could be called night, I felt a light pressure, as if cold fingers brushed the surface of my mind. Not a complete invasion, but a probing, a test. Then I understood. The Korvath were telepathic, or close to it. They didn't read thoughts clearly, but sensed intentions, impulses, anxiety patterns, and used that reading to crush any uprising before it fully formed. When I realized this, something inside me shifted. I couldn't react with open anger, nor direct plans. My first act of rebellion was learning to think in layers. On the surface, tired, submissive, focused on the mechanical gesture of striking, extracting, pushing. Beneath, another mind, watching, cataloging shifts, guard counts, response times. And deeper still, hidden even from myself, a spark without shape, but refusing to die there. Weeks passed listening, not voices, trapped groans, not words, broken breaths. Every corridor carried a different type of breathing, the one who had given up, the one who still dreamed of home, the one planning something but failing to hide fear. In those sounds, I detected patterns, small prisoner signals, almost invisible. The way they tapped twice on the rock before working, the way a tiny crystal was dropped on purpose while crossing paths, a brief shoulder touch lasting 1 second too long. There was a network, a web of survivors. I approached slowly, not speaking. That would draw attention. I answered with gestures, returned dropped crystals, adjusted my pace to match those intentionally placed near me. Time passed before someone tested me. A small group, heavier glances, presences alternating shifts to see if I kept the pattern. When I was finally accepted, There was no reception, only a subtle change in where I was placed. I was moved deeper to older tunnels. Walls no longer looked carved. They were segmented by geometric patterns foreign to Korvath engineering, built by another species, a civilization long extinct. In that dead labyrinth, rebellion breathed. There, the Korvath seemed weaker. Their mental control faded, as if the ancient structure interfered with their psychic waves. Blind spots, exploited by those who still remembered the meaning of fight.
I saw maps drawn in blood, graphite fragments, abandoned machinery, sealed gates, and the most important thing, organized hope. Those leading the movement were not leaders, no titles, only roles. One counted shifts, another calculated cart capacity, another watched the crystal washers, smaller Korvath who transported minerals. Unknowingly, I became the one who traced escape routes, maybe because I had always been a navigator. I memorized everything: platforms, elevators, suspended rails, cart frequency, violet light patterns, guard exchanges, and I searched for any sign of a hangar. I found it in the crystals. Once, while assigned to a higher work front, I touched a purer crystal vein. A strong vibration shot through my arm to my skull. For a second, I saw something that wasn't there. A vast platform filled with ships connected to mechanical arms, distant light reflecting off polished metal, engines dormant. It was not a vision, but memory trapped inside the crystal. Then I understood. These minerals didn't just power reactors, they recorded geological archives of everything around them. The Korvath used them as energy. I could use them as a map. I began touching crystals carefully, searching for subtle vibrations showing open surfaces, ventilated corridors, echoing chambers. The hangar existed, not far, attached to the prison like a vital organ. I shared the discovery through brief touches during transport. The plan formed. Not a solitary escape, a mass extraction, big enough to overwhelm Korvath's psychic supervision. We didn't hide our thoughts, we flooded them. Prisoners not in the core group were encouraged to fantasize impossible escape attempts, unrealistic plans. We allowed those thoughts to surface so the guards focused on crushing them. Beneath the frustration, another hidden stream moved silently. The chosen day arrived. Nothing looked different. Carts ran, machines hummed, order remained. But inside blind zones, bodies moved in synchronicity no prisoner had ever dared attempt. I led the way. Failure meant no second chance. As I reached the final tunnel before ascent to upper sectors, their pressure hit me, a mental grip like ice burying into my skull. They sensed emotional irregularities, disrupted energy lanes. They were good, too good, but we learned from them. I didn't resist. I let them feel fear, raw, shaking fear. Believing I broke, their attention tunneled into me like a spotlight. That was the opening. Far tunnels overloaded lifts. In another sector, carts were released without brakes, sparking collisions. Workers collapsed strategically, drawing medics, shifting guards. The prison descended into controlled chaos. I ran. No heroics, only calculation. Every corner rehearsed mentally 100 times. Every gate opened by sabotage minutes before. We neutralized guards with environment, not strength. Collapsing platforms, crystal dust disrupting sensors, overloaded rails. The hangar air tasted different. Metal, oil, containment fields. Korvath's ships weren't beautiful by human standards. Angular, asymmetric, crystal hearts glowing. No time to choose the best, only the least guarded. We ascended the ramp, fewer in number. Many stayed behind deliberately, playing noise, distraction. Each step carried their weight. Inside, controls weren't human, crystal-driven, semiotic, but I had spent weeks with them, learned their temperament. I sat in the command sphere, laid my hand on the translucent core, and let the memory of chains and labor fill me. Then inverted it, pictured rails opening, space widening. The ship shuddered. Containment systems tried locking us, alarms, closing blast doors, but rebellion wasn't human anymore. The crystals held memory of freedom. They vibrated with intention. As the hull broke through the hangar field, a final psychic spear struck, Korvath trying to crush my will. I could fight with rage, but instead offered surrender, accepting death, failure, dust, chaos they couldn't compute. Pressure broke. The ship ascended out of the starless world. I saw the stars again, sharp, distant, indifferent, yet infinite routes unbroken. Behind me, human breaths filled the cabin. No cheers, only exhaustion and awareness we'd escaped only the first ring. The universe was not kind to slaves on the run. But something irreversible had changed. The Korvath lost more than labor. They lost monopoly over fear. I went down as a fleet pilot and rose as something else. Not a commander, not a hero, but an echo of a mine where the impossible happened. Every crystal extracted would forever carry the vibration of our escape. As the ship drifted into the void, I understood. My story didn't end with the escape. It only scaled upward. From prisoner to leader was not ascent, but descent into humanity's darkest core. In deep places where light dies, freedom sharpens.
And there, in the dark, I became what I never planned to be. The first man to steal a ship from the heart of a starless world and live to tell it.